How you doing out there, Olivia? My name is Crem, and I'm the Director of Fitness, and I want to thank you for joining me for today's Mastering Form workout. In the Mastering Form workout series, what you can expect is to learn how to do exercises properly, but most importantly, safely. So that way, not only are you developing those muscles the way you want, but you're also taking care of your body. So that's what the Mastering Form series is all about, making sure that you learn how to do your favorite exercises, your favorite moves, but in a really, really safe way. So before we jump right on into that, as usual, make sure that if you've never participated in this workout series before, that you've definitely gotten your A-OK from your physician, just to make sure you're ready for this level of activity. Also, make sure you have some water handy. It's always a great idea to stay hydrated. Now, during this workout is no different, so have the water that you need readily available. In the Mastering Form workout for today, as usual, I always like to show you exercises that you can do no matter where you are. So if you're at home, these exercises work great. If you're doing them out at the gym, or you're at a fitness studio, or maybe you're on the go and you're at a hotel and you're in their gym, you can take these exercises there. So they're meant for them to be mobile, no matter where you need to go. I'm going to show you these exercises today that you can do with basically no equipment at all, but I'll show you just a couple of things that maybe you might want to add in just to sort of kind of advance the technique a little bit. So let's dive on in. For today's workout, we're going to go over about three to four different exercises, but we're going to stay right on the lower body, right on the leg half. There's a lot of exercises that you can do for your legs. Trust me, they are countless. But here are a few exercises that I'm going to show you. Number one, that don't require a whole lot of movement, right? You don't need a lot of space to do them in. You can do them with equipment or without equipment. And there's great modifications that you can do for these exercises, just depending on where your fitness level is. So we're going to do a forward lunge today. We're going to do a calf raise today. We're going to do an inner leg raise and an outer leg raise. And don't worry, I'm going to share with you what movements, basically body groups you're going to be working during those movements, what modifications that you can do to adjust, and if you want to add some equipment, I'll share those with you too. So let's get started. Let's get moving. Let's go through the forward lunge first. Now, there are many different types of lunges that you can do, but lunges are really traditionally meant to really strengthen the core, strengthen the legs, right? And strengthen the rear end, the glute area. They're also really good for your flexibility and for your balance. So if you have the ability to do lunges, adding them in is always a great idea. Now, lunges come in many different shapes and sizes, and they definitely vary depending on fitness level. So I'm going to show you just a basic forward lunge today with no frills, no extras, okay? Now, number one, you want to make sure that you've got a spot that you feel like you've got a lot of room in. I will say if your knees are a little bit problematic for doing workouts, being really careful with your lunges is really important, okay? So make sure you kind of really pay attention to your knees, especially if you have knee challenges when you're doing your lunges. So I always like to start with good posture, making sure your form is ready to go. So core tight, stomach tight, back straight. When you're doing a forward lunge, it's exactly as it sounds. I'm going to be going in a forward direction, all right? Now, if balance is not tricky, you can do a forward lunge without anything assisting you. If balance is tricky, then I'm going to show you how we incorporate a chair or something to hold along with that just in case. But I'm going to show you first with nothing at all. Now, when I lunge, this posture is good. I'm going to step forward. And when I step forward, ideally speaking, I want to make sure that my heel is planted into the floor and my knee doesn't extend past my toe. So what I mean by that is I don't want this. If my heel comes off the ground, that means I'm putting undue pressure on my knees, and we don't want that. So I'm going to drop straight down, push off my heel, right? The heel of that foot. Then I'm going to go to the next one. Same thing, drop straight down, good posture, push. And you can alternate that. You can either stay on one leg, keep working one leg, and then go to the other, or you can alternate. I like to alternate. This kind of depends on how I feel. So we're going to push. Now, hands wherever you want. So if you like your hands on your hips, totally fine. Hands out here for balance, totally fine. But I want to make sure that posture is up. And I like to to bend both knees. So I'm thinking about this back knee here going straight towards the ground. Now pushing off the heel. Pushing off the heel. Driving, push off the heel. Now, let's say balance is a bit tricky. That's okay. Or maybe going down quite so far isn't where you're at. You can definitely do this with a chair or a bench or having a wall, something steady near you. So, I'm gonna grab this here, just so you can see, if I did need some support, what that would look like. All right. Hand is here. This is where I need it. And I'm going to do that lunge. And having my hand on something gives me some more control of balance, makes me feel a little more comfortable with my stability. And let's say I can't go down quite so far. Let's say this leg right here has to stay slightly bent because I'm not able to completely drop down. The chair allows me to kind of have that there. And I can start this way. And push. Right? And the good thing about a chair is I can move it from right to left, whatever I need. Okay? Perfect. Now, let's go ahead and go through your calf raise. Calf raises, great exercise right here. Sometimes we neglect the calves. We think, oh, well, maybe I'll do them, maybe I won't do them. But really developing your calves is really, really important. Of course, the strength, right? That's really important. If you're someone who likes to run, working your calves is great for you. But let's just say, for instance, you're not a runner, but you say, oh, I notice I haven't been really doing my calves as much. They're really helpful to stabilize your feet and your ankles. So you don't want to neglect not doing calves. There's lots of different exercises that you can do. We're just going to do a basic calf raise. Now, I want to stand up tall. Always got to start with my posture. I'm going to come up nice and high, on my toes as high as I can, and then back down. Nice and high, and back down. Nice and high on my toes, and then back down. Let's say, for instance, balance was a bit tricky. No big deal. You can hold on to that chair. That's why I kept that chair nearby, just in case if I needed it up and down. So it's a little bit easier when I have something that I can kind of balance on to help me kind of go up and down. Now, depending on where you put your feet position, there's definitely ways to work different parts of the calf muscle depending on if your toes are inward or your toes are outward. Again, there's a lot of variations for exercises and movements. If this is your first time working calves, just keep the very specific basic one. Again, where you're just up on your toes, straight down, up on your toes, straight down, up on those toes, straight down. Now, let's say, for instance, doing it a standing calf raise is a bit tough. You can absolutely do these seated too. So, a bit of a way to modify that. So my feet are out here. Get you where you can see them. Sitting up nice and tall. Up and down. Up and down. So when I'm doing them seated, it's still the same thing. I'm still coming up on my toes as high as I can, but I'm not having to worry about my balance at that point. So I can just focus on the up and down motion of the calves. Okay? Perfect. All right. That's calf raise. So we've done the forward lunge. We've done the calf raise. Now, let's do an exercise for let's do the leg raise. Leg raises are a great exercise. Now, there's different variations you can do with leg raises. You can do them on the floor, you can do them standing. I'm going to show you both because I think the modifications are going to be helpful. So a lying leg raises works this part of the leg, right here, okay? Not only does it work this part of the legs, but it's really good for your hips. It helps with the range of motion and the hip area. So it tones and sculpts this area here, which is good. It also strengthens the rear end area, but it's really good for that range of motion in the hips. Okay, so definitely a good exercise to do. I'm going to show you the standing leg raise first. So standing, you can either do this with something to grab onto for balance or without, just depending on where you feel like your fitness level is and how strong you feel like your balance is. But let's just say, for instance, we're going to try it without first. Now, we want to make sure that we've got a little bit of slight bend in the knees. You don't want to hyperextend or lock those knee joints out. And I'm just going to raise my leg up and down, focusing everything here. All right? And I want to try to raise this leg up pretty high, but I want to avoid trying to bringing my body the other way. So what I mean by that is I want to try to avoid doing this. See how my body just sort of tilts all the way to the side? I don't want to raise my leg up high enough to have to compensate. I don't want my back to compensate for me bringing up my leg. So I want to try to stay as upright as I can and let this part do all the work. There we go. Up and down. So just so you can see from this angle, up and down. I'm lifting right here. Now let's just say you say, hey, Crem, balance is a bit tricky for me. No problem. You can actually grab yourself a chair, something you feel stable with, and just kind of hold on there for a moment. Same thing. Now I'll give you a little tip here, something that I feel is really helpful for leg raises. Try to keep your toe pointed forward. The reason being is that when your toe ventures this way, you feel a little bit more here versus here. That's not a problem, but if you're really trying to isolate this area a lot, you want to have that focus point on making sure that toe is going forward, okay? Isolate some more here, less here. So up and down, just like that. Good, so you're facing this way. Try not to hunch over. Try to keep your back and core. Remember, a good posture, nice and straight. And I'm gonna bring that leg up and down. Go forward. That's my little tip. There, good. Now let's just say even having a chair, balancing with a chair is a bit tricky. Maybe we're not quite there yet, that's okay. We can do these lying too, which is also really cool about the leg raises in general. So we'll come down, pick a space that you feel really good with and something that's nice and comfortable. And I'm gonna be up on my elbow. Feet are straight, legs are straight, and I'm gonna bring it up and down, up and down. Now I wanna make sure my hip is forward. And I wanna roll my hips up towards the ceiling because again, this one begins to change where I feel it most at. And I want it right here, so I want my hips towards you. This hand can hang out right there. And I like bringing it up probably about as high as the shoulder. All right? And you'll start feeling it there. Now let's just say, for instance, you said, okay, I like that, but I want to take it up a notch. A great way to kind of advance a leg raise is adding a band. Bands are something I really, really enjoy because not only are they a very versatile piece of equipment, but you can take these with you everywhere. They travel great, they ball up, but they do wonders. So the way you would really kind of sort of take that up a notch if you were wanting to is you just put the band around your ankles. Put it around your ankles or above your knees. And it's gonna make a lot of difference with regards to that lying leg raise, if you want to add more resistance to it. Okay, so there's some ways to modify that. We can go from, doing them standing, to using a chair or a bench for some balance support, to even bringing it down. Now another way, let's just say for instance, putting your elbow for a while is a bit challenging too. You can bring it all the way down. So you can really start where you need to be with this. Okay, perfect. So that was the leg raise, right, that works the outer thigh. Now, let's go ahead and work the inner thigh. A lot of the same sort of techniques and the same focus, right? It's still a leg raise, but it's just working the inner part of the thighs. The inner thighs also help to, obviously with strengthening, toning, it really helps to that area to look really nice and tight, but it's also good for your hips and your knees. Having good strong inner thighs really protect those joints in that area. So again, another area that's really important to work. So let's just say we're gonna start standing with it. Now, with this one, it's a little bit different in how the leg moves when you're doing inner thigh leg raise versus an outer thigh. The outer thigh, we focus here, inner thigh's here. So when we're bringing that leg up, we're gonna bring it this way, this way, this way, right? Because this is the part we wanna work. Now, let's just say my balance is feeling pretty good today because I haven't fallen over yet. But let's just say, for instance, you got to start out with some balance support. That's what the chair is for, or the wall is for. So I would hold on to my chair, same things with posture. Nothing's changed there. And I'm going to bring this leg out and forward, out and across. All right. So this is one way to do an inner thigh leg raise. Another way that you can do it, let's say for instance, well, you wanted to stay standing and you wanted to make it a little tougher. A band is great for that too. But I like to do it when I'm lying down with the inner thigh. That's one I like to do too. So we're gonna use the band, but not quite yet. This leg drops behind. Hips are still forward towards you. Try to avoid hips coming up in this direction. So it's still going to be forward. This right leg is right behind the left. My toe is still pointed towards you. And I'm going to lift this leg. Lift my leg. Just like that. Right there. And I want to get my leg as high as my knee. That's my goal. Now what you should start to feel is right here in that inner thigh area. Right, but again, if you find yourself tilting upwards towards the hips, you want to kind of correct that. So try to keep your hips as forward as you can. Just like that. Okay, my toe is pointed towards you. Again, that has something to do with where you're going to feel it most. So I want to keep that toe in the right direction. Now, if you wanted to make it more challenging, you can absolutely do that. You could do ankle weights, or a great way to make that, challenging. Or you could put a band on there as well. If I wanted to spice it up, it works the exact same way as we did before, right? And it's going to give a lot of resistance on the way down. So it's fighting the resistance of the band on the way down. Inner thigh is getting tired, which is exactly what we want to do. Perfect. Toe is still straight, and I'm up and down. All right, way to go. So we worked through 4 different exercises today for the lower body. We went through, just to recap, we went through some forward lunges, which lunges are really great for strengthening the core, the legs, the rear end. It's great for balance and flexibility. We also went through the calf raises. Calf raises, we know we can do them standing or seated. Calves are really, really great for your feet and ankle stabilization. We did outer thigh. These muscles right here, great for range of motion for your hips and strengthening the lower body. And then we also did some different modifications doing that with a chair, also on the floor. And then we did the inner thighs, right? Well, we know those are good for the hips and the knees, strengthening and tightening here. Up, we did it standing with a bench and lying down, and we added resistance bands to that. So you did a great job following along with those 4 exercises today. If you have any questions about any of the exercises you see in the Mastering Form workouts, please email me at fitness@livia.com. I'd be happy to share any tips and techniques with regards to those moves or any other moves. If there's a favorite exercise you like and you're like, not quite sure how to perform that exercise properly. I've seen pictures, I've seen videos, but there's something missing about it, just let me know. So I'll be happy to share that with you too. We're going to keep going through different exercises, different muscle groups. We're going to put some things together. So I'm going to give you some varieties, but again, the whole key is to learning how to do the exercises safely and mastering form. Can't wait to see you again soon.